Hi, this is Amanda Phillips posting for Module 1, Learning Theories and Instructional Approaches. The three learning theories are behaviorism, cognitivism, and constructivism. I'm going to highlight key features of each and share some examples of instructional approaches that would support each of these three theories and also share some of the pros and cons that I can see of each. According to the Peak Performance Center, behaviorism is the idea that knowledge exists outside of people and that we are all blank slates who can make associations between stimuli and a response, which then, of course, will impact our behavior. Some examples of instructional approaches are class rewards and parties, like on a Friday afternoon for good behavior during the week. The new behavioral pattern can be repeated until it becomes automatic, but students will be accustomed to getting some type of reward. Another example of behaviorism is direct instruction. The goal of direct instruction is to maximize students being on task and following rote work and repetitive practice. Teacher-student interaction is based around academic tasks, not puzzles, games, or other discourse that might get them slightly off target. Here, teachers use a high degree of control and structure to monitor student progress. Another instructional approach example is mastery learning. This is the idea that all students can learn if given enough time. With this approach, students are given multiple opportunities to show their understanding of content with teacher feedback and assessments along the way. The pros of behaviorism, especially in regard to students with disabilities, include clear structures and established rules, incentive to participate and do their best when they otherwise might not be so motivated, and verbal praise and reinforcement. Learning is accessible and can be memorized. This can be seen as a good entry point for students with disabilities and a really good way to build not only their confidence, but also their understanding with basic skills. On the other hand, there are some cons as well, especially with regard to students with disabilities. These would include low-level thinking, really a missing and lack of critical thinking skills, problem solving, and flexible thinking. There really appears to be one way of learning, and others aren't so encouraged or valued. Other cons seem to be little to no collaboration with peers, really no exchanging of ideas, and not a whole lot of extension. Students are not given the opportunity to apply what they've learned in new ways or question theories that already exist. Cognitivism is the theory that we process information based on the thoughts we have during a behavior. Instead of just responding, we process information and then respond based on how we understand or experienced. Some examples of instructional approaches that connect under cognitivism are selecting relevant information, organizing information into notes or logical structures, and connecting learning to our prior knowledge or background knowledge. Another example is teaching through guided discovery. This means that the teacher is providing guidance and the tools needed, but that the students are really taking control of their learning through discovery, hands-on activities, and their natural curiosity. Lastly, an instructional approach that represents cognitivism is meaningful verbal learning, which pushes to ensure that new information is not just memorized for a short period of time, but it is in the learner's memory in a meaningful way. Teachers can do this through KWL charts, flow charts, and making learning applicable and meaningful for all students. Some of the pros of cognitivism, especially with our students with disabilities, include making connections between the real world and learning. This will give purpose to learning and also a lot of opportunities for application. Learning becomes alive when students can not only understand the purpose, but really be a part of it. Other pros include learning, building, and connecting in meaningful ways. Students aren't seeing skills in isolation, but rather they're understanding the flow and natural progression along the continuum of learning. It's helping to set students up for success. A final pro includes the structure and organization. It's really important for our students, all students, but especially those with disabilities. Some of the cons include the number of scaffolds that need to be in place in order to meet the students' needs and build upon their background knowledge. It might take more time for learning to solidify and connect if the background knowledge is not as explicit for everyone. Another con might be the use of analogies that are common here. They can be hard for some students to understand and relate to, and it might cause frustration beyond a productive struggle for some of our students with disabilities. The final learning theory that we're going to talk about right now is constructivism, and this is the theory that we all develop our own perspective of the world based on our experience and internal knowledge. So what this really means is that learning is going to be unique for everyone based on their experience and perception. Some examples of instructional approaches that connect under constructivism are case studies, project-based learning, group work, inquiry-based learning, and collaboration. I want to dig a little deeper on some of these examples, and I wanted to take a closer look at the connection between PBL and constructivism. Project-based learning makes learning come alive for students by connecting their interests and real-world experiences to the curriculum. Students are really in charge of their learning here by identifying problems that exist in the world and collaborating with their peers to work through them while demonstrating their understanding of whatever the academic concept is. Projects are authentic. Students have a choice and a voice, and there's really a nice element of reflection as well as a public finished project. PBLs can be done across the curriculum. Last year, my 4th grade students did a PBL activity to support families who are affected by natural disasters. They did this by researching recipes that they could make in bulk, which required them to convert the ingredients into triple or quadruple what they read it as. They researched the most cost-efficient place to buy their supplies and groceries, and then actually went ahead and created meals to send to those in need. Another example that drives my instruction on a daily basis is inquiry-based learning. There's such power behind posing a question and letting students productively struggle through it, especially when we can tie it to real-world context. Students here are allowed to try new strategies, collaborate with each other, and use their existing understanding, in this case, while I teach math, to work through a problem. It is so empowering and inspiring to see what they develop without telling them what to do or how to think. Again, they're really in charge of their own learning here. The pros of constructivism that I see, especially in regard to students with disabilities, include creativity, opportunities to think outside of the box, learning being as unique as the learners in the classroom, and a mutual respect for the understanding and interests of all. This theory focuses more on the process of understanding than the product. Some of the cons of constructivism, especially in regard to students with disabilities, include a looser structure with more of a free guideline feel that could feel like it's not enough direction or clear enough outline for some students. Other cons that are outcomes aren't always predictable, so for planning purposes and trying to reach our IEP goals or our learning goals, it could be a little inconsistent. The final thing that we're going to chat about is explicit instruction as an instructional approach. In very simple terms, it's direct instruction that includes a variety of scaffolds for student support. Explicit instruction is focused, logically organized, clear, really moves step by step, provides opportunities for practice and teacher feedback, moves at a quick pace, and supports organization of understanding for students. Components of explicit instruction include review, presentation of the new learning objective, guided practice, corrections and feedback, independent practice, and then continuing that spiral review through weekly or monthly check-ins. An example of an explicit instructional lesson, and then in this case, I'm going to share an example that one might come across for math, might sound a little something like this. Step 1 might be students coming in to review last night's homework and has some type of connection to yesterday's learning. The teacher would provide students with a link into today's topic to show how learning builds and is connected. The teacher also might answer questions that students have on homework, provide clarifying support, or model their thinking on how they might have attacked a specific word problem. This also helps hold students accountable for completing their homework, especially if they know their teacher and classmates are going to go over it with them. The second step would be to state the lesson goal, for example, if it was multiplying with a factor of 3. The teacher would then present the new material in really small steps. So, for example, they might review the meaning of factors and products, show really concrete examples. Depending on the classroom, they might show multiple strategies for how to meet this learning goal, or maybe it would just be one strategy for the day and tomorrow maybe a new strategy. Step 3 would be providing non-examples, all while staying on topic and focused on the learning objective. Step 4 would be guided practice on today's topic. This could be whole class working together on whiteboards and sharing out answers, partnerships with the teacher checking in and having little math conferences, or even small group work. There will be a lot of questioning, prompting, and guiding so that students feel successful and confident. They are going to continue to practice and practice. Step 5, when students are ready, they will be able to try these skills on their own. This is a natural scaffold from I do, we do, you, the students do. The students are working on their own to show understanding. The teacher is still checking in and monitoring their progress. Step 6, like I said earlier, is going to be ongoing. The spiral review or constant state of review should really never end. Content should be revisited through homework and warm-ups, review days, and formative and summative assessments. Hopefully, you were able to understand my number of various examples of different learning theories and practices. It was really powerful while completing this module to reflect on my instruction as a teacher and now a math specialist with both my special ed and general ed students. I can look back upon this year and the previous 7 and really be able to analyze when I was following which learning model and why. It speaks to the groups of students I've had over the years and also my development as a teacher.